There are newer lenses, sharper lenses, faster autofocus, and yet, this is the one I keep coming back to. The Canon EF 35mm 1.4L was released in 1998. And it's a lens from another time, before everything had to be perfect and before everything had to be clinical.
This isn't a review, it's more of a quiet defense of character, feeling and imperfection.
35mm is a strange focal length. It's neither wide nor tight. It's human. It's how we see the world. A little context, a little focus. And this lens existed long before YouTube reviews, before charts and corner sharpness.
And maybe that's what many of us still respond to. That subtle vintage feel, how it carries time inside it. It doesn't chase perfection, it embraces character.
And I'm using it on the Canon R6 with an EF mount adapter, and that combination works really well. You get the character from the lens, but still the stability and performance of a modern system, and that can be fun. What I've always liked about this lens is the color. From this generation of Canon glass, the tones feel warm, muted, slightly nostalgic. Shadows stay dark, they have depth, but they don't feel crushed. Wide open at 1.4, the contrast drops slightly. There's a softness in the highlights, a gentleness modern lenses often iron out, and edges aren't perfectly sharp. Transitions between light and shadows feel smoother. This isn't a lens that shouts, it whispers. And the contrast, not harsh, but shaping. When the world starts to feel flat and colorless, I switch to black and white. And that's where this lens really shows its character. Without color, you pay more attention to light, how shadows fall, how bright areas fade into the darker ones. This lens doesn't make the image look harsh. Edges aren't overly defined, textures aren't overemphasized. Wide open, there's a slight softness that takes the edge off high contrast scenes. Modern lenses often make everything look very crisp, very clean. And this one doesn't push that look, and in black and white, that makes a difference. There's less distraction, just light, shape and composition, and that puts more responsibility on me, as a photographer, as a filmmaker. The autofocus isn't fast by today's standards. It can hesitate, sometimes it hunts in lower light, and you can also hear it. There's a slight mechanical sound when it focuses, especially if you're using an on-camera microphone. Face tracking doesn't always work that well with this lens, it can struggle to keep up. And I don't rely too much on face tracking with this lens, I found it works much better when I use a single focus point. Wide open, corners soften, contrast drops a little. It's not clinically precise, and no, it isn't perfect, but neither are the images we remember the most.
If you're looking for character rather than perfection, these limitations, they become a part of the appeal.
The Canon EF 35mm f1.4L isn't for everyone. If you're looking for maximum sharpness, there are better options. If you want flawless autofocus and technical precision, there are newer designs. But if you're drawn to lenses with a vintage feel, with rendering that isn't overly polished, then you'll understand why it still lives in my bag.
I've sold this lens more than once, and every time I end up missing it. Because every time you realize that some things don't get old, they just become clearer. If this video resonates with you, if you care more about character than specs, consider subscribing. And I'll be sharing more reflections like this. Have a nice day.